All right, so tonight we're going to be tying a Midge Emerger. The last couple of weeks, in the pond I live on, I live down here in LA, lower Alabama. The fish had been coming up right at dark, or right just before dark, and striking at something. And we were fishing with the normal stuff that we would fish with, and we were not getting any takers. So finally, a couple nights ago, I realized that what's hatching are small speckled dun mayflies, and some other little midges are coming out, and they're striking at them in the surface. So I figured I would give it a tie. So I got a size 14 in the vise tonight because it's easier for me to tie on camera. But I tie this on a 16 down to a 22. I don't tie the 22s. My eyes are not good enough to see a 22, much less tie one on my hook. But we're going to tie this on a 14 tonight just to show you what I've been using that's been working as a emerger midge pattern. Go ahead and get the fly in the vise here. I'm going to go ahead and start a thread base. I'm using black 70 denier from Superfly, or Ultra Thread, I should say. This is 70 denier from Ultra Thread. I'm going to go back about to the bend of the hook. Come in here, we're going to cut this little tag end off. Next, I'm going to take a black hackle, and I'm going to pull just a few of these little longer feathers off from the back end. There you go. That's about what I'm looking for. I'm going to go ahead and pinch these together. And we're going to tie these in. Now, I don't want them sticking out too much as the tail. Maybe about half a hook shank length out is what I've been doing. Going ahead and, well, come on now. There we go. A little soft loop to catch it in. Tie these in and just hold them in there for just a second. And I'm going to actually kind of pull them a little bit because they're too long. And that's about where I want them lengthwise. Next, I'm going to take a piece of, in this case, I'm using just very gold ultra lure flash wire. You can use silver, you can use gold, you can use red. I'm using this gold color. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tie this in. I'm going to put it on the near side of the hook shank. Go ahead and tie that in, and I'm going to start working up and touching spirals up to the bend of the hook. Now this is starting to twist, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that out. I normally just go ahead and leave it in, but it was starting to twist and I don't want it to, so we're just going to go ahead and cut that out. We're going to continue to wrap up and touching spirals up to just about an eye length back. This little piece of wire right here, I'm actually going to fold that over back on the body, and I'm going to tie that in. You don't have to do this step, but by doing this step, don't worry about that tag, I won't finish tying that in. By doing that step, it actually helps anchor that wire in there so that it keeps it, in my opinion, a little more stable to the fly. I'm going to go ahead and work back down to where I tied in. What's that? That's a little straight piece back to where I've tied in. And then I'm going to work back up. Again, a loose spirals. This is my body of the fly. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to take this gold wire and I'm going to do even spaced wraps up the body. Just little even spaced wraps. Try to keep them as even as possible, although my eyes are not what they used to be. So I will do the best I can to keep these nice and evenly spaced. I don't like to waste material. Materials is getting expensive, but if you're tying on these smaller flies, I do recommend that you give yourself extra material to work with. It's better than trying to hang on. Okay, so here we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and just anchor this. Go ahead and anchor this down, and again, fold it back a little bit, bringing my thread just a little bit back. You can helicopter that off or trim it off, your choice. Go ahead and trim that off. Next, I'm going to take a piece of white, you can use 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter foam. This is 2 millimeter because it's what I had on hand, and I'm going to use it about the width of the bend of the hook, maybe just a little bit smaller. And to keep it from spinning, when you're working with these smaller flies, remember everything is very, very important. You don't want to bulk it up too much. So I'm going to put just a little bit of glue on there. I'm using super glue. I know some people, you guys use Zap-A-Gap or other things like that, but I do that. So I'm going to go ahead and place this piece of foam like so on top of the hook. Okay. Then a couple of loose wraps, because I don't want to cut the foam, because your thread can cut the foam. So you want to go ahead and just do a couple little loose wraps. Try to keep it from spinning on you. There you go. I'm adjusting it from spinning on you. Again, if any of you thought I was a professional, I do apologize. Now I'm going to just go ahead and continue to wrap this back and hide all of that white foam there under a head of the fly. Yeah, that's a little easier said than done in some circumstances. Okay. I don't want to bulk it up too much, so I'm going to stop there. I'm going to come in and put a couple thread bends underneath the foam by the eye to help make it stand up like so. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick little half hitch to hold it, leave it. Now, I'm going to get a small black hackle. These are not fun to work with, I understand that, but that's what we're going to use. And go ahead and strip the fuzzy end off of it and prep that tag in like so. I'm going to come in here, and my thread pulled up a little bit here. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to catch this in like so. A couple of turns, and because it is small, I'm going to use my hackle pliers here. And I'm going to just make a couple of turns of hackle to make a little collar. That's all I'm doing. A couple of turns. And the number of turns depends on the fly. The smaller the fly, you might be able to get away with just one turn. You might be able to get away with just one. You could possibly use dubbing on this if you choose. In this case, like you see, I'm using this hackle. And go ahead and I'm going to trim this tag end off like so. Go ahead and I'm going to twist this foam back up. It got a little twisted on me. Get it twisted up, and then you can use a whip finish. In this case, for time's sake, I'm just going to do a couple half hitches in there like that. Twist that, make sure that stays up. And again, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this, just a little bit of glue, and run it right there on top of those thread wraps. Come up here, and if I caught up any of the hackles in my thread, I can trim those out, trim my thread off. Now, this is where I come in here and I take and maybe 2 or 3 hook eyes forward, I trim that top off. If you want to, you can come in here and kind of round off these corners a little bit. Like so, kind of just round them off a little bit. But there you go. That is a foam emerger. You can tie this on a scud hook and bend if you want, but I find that these work well down in the 16, 18 inch range, and you can go ahead and get these out. And we've been doing pretty well with these in the evening.